any decision you're making around whether to build or buy, like that's an important question to ask. And then if there is pressure to build, but that's the reality you're facing, ask those questions. Why are we building this? What is the business benefit in the long term? Welcome to the State of CRM podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Ben.
And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We've been talking a lot about data targeting, audience building, best practices for CRM, and something that we've been hearing a lot about from customers in businesses kind of making considerations around where to put investment is the dilemma around build versus buy. And essentially, we're talking about that right now within the framework of technology, specifically within the framework of CRM. But there's lots to consider, or lots that can be considered when thinking about build versus buy in terms of business implications for technology. And I think that it's an interesting topic, particularly now, and I think something that's coming up a lot, in part because of obviously COVID has impacted the way all businesses have had to do business, and essentially the digitization of commerce, and not just commerce, but really almost every industry has been impacted by this to at least one degree or some degree or another. But the reality of it is that has accelerated the level at which businesses have had to invest in technology to be able to create experiences for customers, to be able to reach them where they need to reach them, to be able to build those relationships, to manage their data, to activate all of those things that we talk about. And the reality of it is companies with the resources to do so could choose to invest in technology to help them do that, or to find solutions in market from SaaS players that have already built solutions that can solve for specific challenges that they're looking to solve for. And I think it is an interesting point of discussion around where should companies be making these investments? Should they invest in something homegrown or something more off the shelf? And I think was a trend towards buy, because originally there weren't all of these software solutions that essentially could solve almost every single problem that a business was facing. That's changed. There's point solutions in market. There's giant platforms like Salesforce in market. There's lots of opportunities, or I guess options, for marketers to put investment in terms of technology. But what we're starting to see, I think, is a lot of people in businesses saying, hey, wait a second. We're spending all of this money on tech partners, all of this investment. Is this something that potentially we could build internally that might solve our business challenges more effectively than investing in a partner or in a solution? And there's even now essentially businesses that are designed to help developers internally build as well. So the environment is really primed for companies looking to do so, that are in the right place to do so, to opt to build. So I think the question is, or the interesting question is, how do I approach making that decision as a decision maker in my company?
Yeah, that's a question that exists forever. Build versus buy, that won't disappear. I don't believe so. But definitely an interesting topic and interesting period of the time where we are right now. That's so many things. We can't miss the explosion of the no-code tools. So all these tools that help people to build without any coding skills. Also, that will allow a lot of people to think about their solution, the solution they want to build, or the process, or all of that, and being able to do that in drag and drop mode, if I can say. It depends on the tool, but that can be simplified as the drag and drop mode for some of the tools. And maybe what we want to cover today in the episode is, what are the questions you need to ask yourself to help to take the best decision between the building the solution internally or buying a solution on the shelf. And the first question you can ask yourself for make a choice or to consider one solution versus the other will be, is the problem I'm trying to solve is unique to my business, or is it a problem that other businesses also face? And so maybe there are solutions ready on the shelf, best of breed, that can provide this service or help me to solve the issue as they are solving the issue for the other competitor or other businesses with the same goal, same problem. The second one is they are, as I mentioned, best of breed solution, solving specific problem, and most likely solving the problem you have or you want to solve. If they are existing and working to solve this exact topic, issue, outcome you are expecting, most likely they spend all their energy, all their resources to develop and to build a product that solves this specific problem. So that's a best of breed solution that is only focused on this unique part of your chain, of your process, or whatever. They might do that pretty well, and you need to consider that in the discussion, because if you want to build the solution on your own, are you able to put all the resources that you need to develop a solution that is as good as specialists can produce, and also if they exist for a long time on this end and solving this topic for a long time, they might have faced problem that they solved maybe 5-10 years ago that you will face also on your own, and you will have to solve this issue on your own, and going on the path of buying a solution from the shelf might save you a lot of time, because you just not get the first trap and getting the first mistake of the beginner.
Yeah, I think it's a really an interesting point where you're saying that, like, software companies have generally sort of developed, obviously, a solution that solves a specific business problem, and some of those have been doing that for years and evolving their solution, and they're sort of, best of breed or best practice for solving that particular issue. And I think one thing marketers, or not just marketers, but anybody in a business decision making capacity needs to think about when looking at potentially investing in a tool is how advanced is that tool, and is it already best of breed, or are they basically using, for example, my data to optimize their own product? And that's an important thing to think about, because I think, like, for example, with AI, is it already like a best of breed, well-developed AI solution that can come in and solve your business challenge, whether it's, targeting or what have you? Or is it AI that that needs to learn from your data? Is it using essentially your resources or your assets to improve itself? And I think that's an important thing to explore with potential partners, because why that's not necessarily good for your business if it is a situation where they need you to improve their product, whether it's AI or some other tech solution. That essentially then will be used to benefit your competitors, because then your competitors are going to have access to a better tool that was essentially developed at a cost of your own business. So something to think about.
Yeah, you mentioned it. There are really two teams there. Is the tool use your data to provide you value, but also use your data to help provide value to other of their clients?
Yeah.
Or is the tool autonomous to provide you the best value or performance for your context, your business, and your data, your usage of it won't influence other clients of this tool, meaning that other clients are not influencing your performances neither. And I have an example on the topic we can catch on different points that we mentioned. Think about ESP, email service provider. My first question is that I think anyone listening to our podcast know that what an ESP is and what they are doing. That's something that is pretty common as a service, and barely nobody is wondering to build that internally. We know that some companies are doing that, but there are very few companies doing that internally. I mean, the question are, if I need to change my ESP, what is the list of other providers that I can go to improve X, Y, Z? But you are not thinking about building your own ESP and managing the deliverability on your own and all of that. So you are using a tool, providing data, but usually you don't like to use the ESP in a IP pool. So you don't want to have your email sent with the same server IP as other clients, because if they do a bad action and the server is blacklisted, you will suffer from that. So the best practice is to use a provider, and there are a ton of ESP on the market, but you usually pay for your own IP server. So you warm up your IP, but then when it's done, there is no impact from other clients from this provider. And I think that illustrates the thing we were mentioning about, you were mentioning that on AI, but even with simple or basic tool, that's the same. I mean, you are making the choice of not building the tool, but finding the one that's help you to be autonomous and not protected or not impacted by other clients or competition.
Yeah. I think that's interesting, and I think like in that particular case, it's a really good example of a piece of technology that's essentially been commoditized.
Yeah.
You know, like why invest in that when you can actually get one that probably does what you want at a much lower cost than having to go through the development efforts of actually building something on your own. And I think like another thing to consider too, like, and this could support either build or buy, but say you're looking at a potential solution in marketplace to, I don't know, help you market more effectively, maybe build your marketing strategy, figure out who to target, like what the right segments are potentially for whatever campaigns you're launching in market, or providing you insights, or even like dashboarding or visualization, what have you. Like you have obviously specific problem as a marketer, again, whoever you are in your business that you want to solve for. How much can that particular solution be tailored to solve for that challenge? And that could mean a couple different things. It could mean the tech piece. So is it something that would need to be adjustable for my specific needs? Is there development opportunities on top of it? Are there APIs available that can help my company customize the solution and integrate it into my existing stack? Or not even just thinking about the technology, there's also the strategy piece as well. So, is this something that's very rigid that sort of produces the same type of output for every single client? Or, for example, if I have like specific marketing challenges, whether it's fatigue issues or I'm over reliant on batch and blast, which is something we obviously talk about quite a bit, or potentially, there's just a huge volume of campaigns that I have to send out, or whatever your challenge is, like there's different. Like just because there's a single solution doesn't mean that what it solves for in every company is specifically the same. So it's important to think about what your end goal, what your strategy would look like if it was executing the way that you want it to, and can that tool be used to essentially help you get there in the way that you need it to get there. And I think there's some like out of the box solutions that are almost so rigid in certain ways that it's difficult for businesses to integrate them into their own processes. I mean, even I've, again, like sort of spent most of my career in the B2B world, but, I've made investments in the past where the output just doesn't work for the company because either I don't have the resources to get it off the ground, or what it does produce, even though it was sold as something that seems really beneficial, at the end of the day, the internal processes of the company are prohibitive for me getting the value that I need to out of that. So learning experiences from my own experiences that make sure you sort of think all the way through in terms of what you want this to do for you. Can it get you there? And do you have the resources internally in place to be able to get the most value out of it?
Yeah, and an additional example we can share is the fact that if the solution is so rigid that every customer is using or user is using the solution the same way and the outcome, the output is the same, that means everyone will do the same thing. Maybe it's not bad, but the only thing producing is replicates the same experience.
Yeah.
So if your competition is using the same tool, in a way that can be great to use the same tool because you are at the same level. But I would say that you don't differentiate yourself because you are just applying the same tool, same tactic, same strategy, same outcome, depending on what the tool is built for. But that just you're doing the same. So back to your point, Matt, on the fact that that's super important to evaluate how the tool, what's the purpose of the tool? Is it to deliver one specific outcome? And if that's something that you can change, adapt based on your needs. So if I say that's another way, that are you able to apply your own strategy with the tool? Is the tool flexible enough to open any strategy, any application or different application, depending on the willingness of the clients or the user to do so? Or is it just you don't have flexibility to do that? And maybe everyone buy in-message module that's bring the weather. Okay, but that means everyone is showing the same module. And there is no big difference between you and your competition if you are presenting the information the same way.
Yeah. And I think like, it does get tricky because then there could be a good argument there for building as well, because essentially what you would be doing is potentially investing in a tool that could help you differentiate, to your point, but it doesn't you don't necessarily need to build to have a differentiated solution. But it is one thing that is a huge argument for companies looking to invest big amounts of money in potentially developing something internally is, is this something that will give us a competitive edge, potentially a piece of software that no one else has that will help us like achieve whatever outcomes that we're looking to achieve? Or is it something that's commoditized?
Yeah, and that can be a good solution. Unfortunately, I would say when companies are making this decision, everyone is super excited by building the tool or the solution for a specific need that's not existing on the market. So you get the differentiation we are talking about. What's missed or forgotten is that it needs to be developed. So there is a cost. Okay, there is also a cost if you buy or you hire another platform or a tool. But it needs to be maintained, and you need to keep innovating, because it's not because that's not existing on the market right now and you are developing that internally that 6 months from now, that's maybe all the market and tools on the market will have the feature or the capabilities to achieve the same outcome. So that's not just making a choice for ad hoc operation or development to build its own tool, but that's just stepping on a path that you will have to maintain, that will pull you over and over to reinvest, spend in time and money to keep maintaining that, scaling it, because that was designed at a certain period of time, and 1 year later, fortunately for you, your business is just exploding and you need to handle twice or 3x the volume of customers, and maybe it's not built for that, or the architecture is not built for that, and you need to revamp everything, and the additional cost is just huge. So that's also something to put in the balance, and not just the short-term feedback or benefit of doing it on its own.
I think like the sort of like the cost of investment and the risk associated with it is something to really think long and hard about, whether you're looking for a build versus buy solution, or even just a buy versus not buy solution. Like there was, a situation in a previous role that I had where we invested in a competitive analysis tool, really great solution actually. But once we started to roll it out, we just realized we didn't have the internal bandwidth from a time perspective to actually get what we really needed out of the tool. And it almost became more of like a burden and something that we had to deal with rather than something that was solving challenges. It actually became a bit of a challenge itself because we were investing monthly into something we had to use, and then we had to spend the time and resources to get it off the ground. And companies won't necessarily tell you that up front. They're not gonna, if it is time consuming and is gonna require resources like the human resource, it tends to be something that gets not brought up during the sales process. So make sure you're asking the right questions so that you can get a sense of what that would require and what the bandwidth is so that you can really assess risk effectively. And I think that's really important to consider.
Yeah, the bandwidth issue is, also there when you see the new a new platform vendor with what are the current features and what is coming next, which can be great, awesome, but will you have the bandwidth to actually integrate that in your strategy? Do you want to integrate that on your strategy? Or even worth, is it working with your strategy? Because sometimes the feature can be great on its own, but it works well if that's integrated in a certain type of strategy, and maybe you are on another path, and that don't fit together. So that's something that's interesting. But these features developments bring another point on the fact that the best of breed solution are focused again on only one topic and serving one specific pain point or challenge or roadblock that you have in your day to day, and they concentrate all their effort, their product development on improving that. So over time, they will improve it, and pretty quickly. Most of the time, usually that's very fast. You can quickly have new features and improvements compared to the build version, because you made the first spec, you have the internal development of it, and the team managing that, IT, data science, whatever the people who are building that internally, they will have to work on another project. So the bandwidth for them to keep going with improvement will just disappear. While if you go on the best of breed solution, that will just keep going. And that just bring also the fact that the pace of the market is accelerating in terms of technology. That's accelerating a lot. And we said that in the introduction, that also thanks to a lot of no-code solution that's open way more capabilities or tool that's bring bricks together that people can build on based on the bricks and make a product out of different bricks together. So that's really tailor-made for the business. And that's going so fast that you need also to consider one important thing when you are buying a solution. That's how dependent of the solution you will become, because you need to be able to go backward. That's what happens if you need to unplug the solution in 1 year or 8 months because just the market moved and you need to change the practice. So you really need to consider how complicated or costly is to unplug, how it can be replaced, and what you get back from the tool. Because if you, for example, if you share data with the tool to learn from the data, we were talking about AI previously. Do you get your data back? What do you get back? Are the data deleted? For sure, that's mandatory by the law. But how the process is managed, how it's done, these are questions that you really need to ask yourself and the vendors you are contacting.
Yeah. And I think when kind of thinking about risk, which is kind of what that all boils down to as well, is, like you mentioned, there's a lot of best of breed solutions out there. There's a high velocity of companies starting up, building new solutions, going away, things like that. So if you are looking at potentially investing in a partner, it's actually important to ask about and ask and assess the long-term viability of that solution. Because if that's something that is a solution that you really integrate into your business, potentially invest a lot in implementation, develop practices and operations that become dependent in certain ways on having that solution available, there are situations where these companies are going under. And that's the reality of it, because we're in a very fast-paced world of new solutions, high competition, acquisition, things like that. And so if you have a solution in play and that company isn't, unfortunately, for whatever reason, doing well, and they go under, that means that you're not going to have access to that solution anymore unless there's an acquisition or something that keeps it going. So there's an element of risk, too, to make sure that you vet partners for long-term sustainability. You know, look how long they've been in the industry. There's companies that have been best of breed for 10 years or more. Like those are companies that are really good examples of ones that are likely to be able to continue in the future as well. If it's a brand new solution, something super innovative, doesn't mean it's a bad decision, but it does mean that there's a higher level of risk involved with that particular option. And you should definitely do the due diligence around understanding, is this a healthy business? What is their current client roster like? What's, what kind of revenue do they have? Is this sustainable? So, definitely something to think about when assessing risk is, what is the health of this partner, especially if it's a big piece of software that is going to potentially become very integrated into your business and potentially have a lot of things dependent upon it.
Yeah, and an additional point is, what are the social proof? That's if they are on the market for a long time, are they working with clients with similar size of your business? Are they working with clients? Are their clients working with them for a long time? Are they renewing? Are they keep working, partnering with this solution you are looking for? Because this one solution can exist for a long time, and you can just realize that they are working with SMBs and you are enterprise, or you are SMB and they work only with enterprise companies. I mean, the match is on multi-level criteria, and that's really important to check that. And that's easy to ask some references and some call and say, okay, well, I mean, an easy question that what is the clients that you're working with for the longest period? I mean, how long this client is working with you, and can I talk to them?
Yeah,
just easy question, easy discussion with a peer, and understanding what are the pro and cons of working with this solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we haven't really covered off on yet that I think is also really important is obviously the cost of the solution. And I think like what's and not just the cost of the solution, but the cost of building as well. So obviously on a high level, you're looking for, if I build versus buy, is my investment in building going to return greater ROI in the future, either through greater differentiation, economies of scale, efficiency, what have you. And when looking at a solution or versus buying, it's not just about like, what's the cost this year? What's the cost of implementation? What's the cost in the next 6 months? It's what's the cost over time? Because I think in either situation, whether you're building versus buying, costs when you start to scale can balloon very, very quickly. And there's situations where look at the pricing model of the solution that you're interested in, and play some models out in your head. Like what happens if usage goes up by X times or X percent, or what happens if I onboard X amount of new users to this, or I have new channels, or my data volume increases. What does that do to the pricing, and what would that look like a year from now or 3 years from now? And is investing in that potential partner, is that something where costs could, in those situations that you're running, balloon out of control? Because there are pricing models in market that are not as effective in terms of economies of scale as you'd think. So there's certain solutions that have smartly priced themselves where they'll probably go up as usage goes up or as volume increases. But ideally, it would go up so that you would be realizing more net benefit the more you use it and the bigger you get, essentially economies of scale. But there are pricing models where costs balloon out of control and they no longer become viable. But that also happens with build as well. So think about if you are looking at potentially building a solution. Same thing. What happens if your data volume increases? What happens if your user base increases? What happens if you have to expand it to more parts of your business? Is the investment there to be able to support that over time? And that's an important question to be asking yourself. And you can run hard numbers in situations to be able to help answer that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing you didn't mention in all the example is also the ability to get new features. Over time, you are saying, Matt, that let's look at that on a longer period. What's happening after 1, 2, 3 years of partnership? If on one end, I'm working with a solution that over time deliver new features, bring them in my package, or that's included or that's anticipated in terms of price. In terms of pricing, I know where I'm going. On the other hand, internal development, you build internal, or I'm saying internal development, but that can be built with you hire an agency to build the specific tool for you. What's the cost of scaling, as you said, if your database increase or usage increase? Is the architecture of all of that will be still be up and running and not just drying? But what about innovation, new features, adding new use case into that? There is a cost. So that's really something you need to also put on paper, on perspective in your decision, in your thought process.
Yeah. And it's not just about cost of capital or money. It's also time as well. And I think, again, it's not just build versus buy, but it's also buy versus not buy as well, to kind of like when you're thinking about this, because, we've talked to some marketers that are a year and a half, for example, into onboarding their CDP, and it's still not up and running. It's still, the data integration's still not working. The output's still not what they need it to be. It's not fully integrated with their other solutions that they have in their stack. And, that is a long time to invest in a solution that's supposedly off the shelf.
Yeah.
In that amount of time, you could potentially have built yourself some form of internal data lake or something that could have potentially got you at least some of the way there, that might be even it might have been just fine. But marketers are finding themselves in that particular situation still trying to get the tool off the ground. And so that's something to think about. Like, how much time is it going to be? What is the runway before I can actually start seeing a return on my investment in this? And ask the same question about build versus buy as well. So if there's a year and a half implementation period or more for this, that might be a good sign to either look for a different solution or further explore, can I do this on my own in the same amount of time and do it better, or can I do it quicker? But also, in general, when thinking about building, it's not just, this is going to give me differentiation or greater ROI. It's how long is that going to potentially take, and be conservative about that, because I've rarely seen these things happen where it happens more quickly than you think it's going to. It's usually the opposite. So make sure you have a lot of consideration around not just the money that I'm spending on this, but what is the time commitment, and do I even have the resources, kind of going back to the previous point, at my disposal to get this off the ground in the time frame that I need it to? And if not, is there an option that's actually more realistic for my business?
Yeah, and maybe the last example that's not usual, but we can talk a little bit of what's happening at Tiny Clues and what's in the tool we are providing. We have this discussion of build versus buy with some potential clients. That happen for sure, and I just want to share something that happened recently again, where a client start working with us. Our usual timeline for the onboarding and the setup is roughly 1 month, getting ready, sending us the data, doing the technical setup, and sending the first campaign with us. Recently, we did a setup in 4 days. And the client is just surprised, saying that, okay, so that's going faster than expected, and so I can start to use the tool right now. Again, that's particular to our tool. Maybe for other solution that can be different for the problematic. But the question is still there. That's we have potential clients asking themselves, should I hire and use Tiny Clues, or should I build my own tool on my side? We are focused and only focused on that particular audience building problematic for more than 10 years with AI and all of that. For sure, you can build an AI engine especially with all the tools that exist today available. But how long it will take to build that engine on your own compared to a 4-day setup of something that is proven to work for years. And that's just illustrating all the topic we mentioned about asking clients, looking at how long the business is running for, and how clients are renewing, what's the value, what's the business model, all of that, the cost of implementation and innovation. I mean, we are adding new features, new capabilities every single time we are working on the product, only focusing on that, getting feedback from a lot of clients with different problematics and making that working for different use cases and different strategy, because everyone can adapt this strategy in the tool. If you develop that on your own, that will be tailor-made for your strategy, but how long it will take. And I'm not even talking about the money you'll have to invest in the headcount to build it, or the agency that will help you to do that, to get something that, again, will be fresh, new, just build. So can expect some issue at the launch.
Yeah, I think like, maybe to end, what you have to really think about, like, is this what is best for my business? And it can get politically complicated as well, as we know. Like, there might be people in the organization that are, we should build this because we can. You know, why wouldn't we build this if we can? But can and should are very different. And just because you can doesn't mean that's what is necessarily best for your business. Yeah. Like, if you can have a solution that is as good as what you can build in a year or two, in a matter of days, and it's as good or better, like, that to me is a no-brainer. You know, there's like, and it's not just to promote Tiny Clues, it's what any decision you're making around whether to build or buy. Like, that's an important question to ask. And then if there is pressure to build, but that's the reality you're facing, you know, ask those questions. Why are we building this? What is the business benefit in the long term? You know, why? And if there's a good case for that, if it differentiates your business, if it makes you more money, if there's no solution in market that can be up and running quickly enough, or that is unique enough to solve the specific challenge, if your challenge is just completely unique in market and you need a custom solution, then yes, you should absolutely build that. But if it's dubious and there's solutions that you can invest in, like, that's beneficial for your business. Like, that's an investment that you should make. So definitely, you know, ask those tough questions, because it's not just these decisions aren't made by one person. There's usually multiple stakeholder groups with competing priorities. But ultimately, you know, if you're going to the powers that be in your organization with a final decision recommendation, and it's up to them, you know, point to the business case, and you'll win out that way. Definitely.
So, I mean, very interesting topic. We are really keen to discover if the internal culture in your company is build only, buy only, or a mix of both, depending. It depends. It depends on the situation. Let us know. We are happy to actually discuss about all of that and getting your feedback and yeah, maybe do another episode with a additional point of view on the topic.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you very much for listening. and have a good week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in.